June 8, 2023, New Delhi. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, is asked a question: can a team from India, smart engineers, $10 million, build something substantial in AI? Sam Altman answered: it's totally hopeless to compete with us on training foundation models. You shouldn't try. And the room went quiet. The response was immediate. CP Gurani, CEO of Tech Mahindra, tweeted within hours: Dear Sam, from one CEO to another, challenge accepted. Rajan Anandan, the VC who asked the question, wrote: 5,000 years of Indian entrepreneurship has shown us that we should never underestimate the Indian entrepreneur. We do intend to try. Altman backpedaled the same day. He said his comments were taken out of context. But the question still lingered. Was he right? India has been here before, told it can't compete. January 1991, ISRO signs a deal with Russia for cryogenic engine technology. These engines power heavy rockets, the kind that put satellites in orbit. But the US intervenes. Senator Joe Biden calls the deal dangerous. Sanctions follow. Russia backs off. Here's the transcript of heavy debate in Lok Sabha. India announces it will build the engine itself. Then ISRO scientist Nambi Narayan is arrested on the charges of espionage. The accusation was selling rocket secrets to Pakistan. He was tortured. He refused to implicate his colleagues. The charges were fabricated. The Supreme Court later called the case malicious prosecution. But the damage was already done. The cryogenic program was derailed. The other scientists became cautious. Why take risk if this is the reward? In 2019, Narayan received the Padma Bhushan Award. In 2022, a film was made about him. January 2014, the first successful indigenous cryogenic engine launch, 23 years after the original deal. India can build what it needs. The question is how much time it loses getting there. October 2014, India bans civilian drone use entirely. No framework, no exceptions, just pure ban. For 7 years, industry exists in legal purgatory. Startups wait, investors hesitate. Other countries build ecosystems. August 2021, the government finally liberalizes drone rules. 90% of Indian airspace becomes green zone. And now India is rushing to catch up. Defense drones, agricultural drones, delivery drones, the same technology it blocked for 7 years. In driverless cars, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari has said since 2017, I will never allow driverless cars in India. His reasoning, 70 to 80 lakhs driver jobs at stake. Here's the thing. Everybody knows that fully autonomous vehicles won't work in Indian roads. The chaos, the lane discipline. But that was never the point. When you pursue a hard problem, you build technology in the process. Sensor, computer vision, edge computing, mapping systems. That tech powers the other tech. It's a chain reaction. Ban the destination and you kill the journey. March 1st, 2024. India's Ministry of Electronics and IT issues an advisory. The mandate: all AI companies must get explicit government permission before deploying unreliable AI models on the Indian internet. The trigger was, a week earlier, someone asked Google's Gemini, is Modi a fascist? The AI gave an answer that government didn't like. The IT minister called it a violation of law. So the government's response was, regulate first and figure it out later. The backlash was immediate. Aravind Srinivas, CEO of Perplexity, born in Chennai, built a $9 billion company in San Francisco, called it a bad move by India. And similarly, the other reputed big names called it out. And apparently nobody liked it. Even a one Indian founder building AI agriculture tweeted, I was a fool thinking that I will work bringing Gen AI to Indian agriculture from San Francisco. Critics called it a return to license Raj, the bureaucratic permit system that strangled Indian business until 1991. 14 days later, the advisory was revised. The permission required was withdrawn, but the signal was sent. India doesn't pioneer, it reacts, and when it reacts, it often reaches for the brake before the accelerator. Other countries were asking, how do we lead in AI? India was asking, how do we control it before we even have it? There is another industry that knows this pattern well, defense. For 54 years, from 1947 to 2001, India's private sector was completely barred from defense manufacturing. State monopoly, no exceptions. The reason was security. The result was stagnation. India became the world's second largest arms importer, buying from abroad what it wouldn't let its own companies build. In 2001, private participation was finally allowed, but FDI was capped at 26%, then raised to 49% in 2014, and then 74% in 2020, and then 100% in 2021, but only with government approval. 21 years of incremental unlocking, and still between 2017 to 2021, India remained the world's largest weapon importer. Then came May 7, 2025, Operation Sindoor. India's military response to Pahalgam terror attack. For the first time in India's history, Made in India defense equipment played a pivotal role, both offensive and defensive. Suddenly, every company in India wants to do defense. Adani announced 1.8 lakh crore investments in defense. Emergency procurement contract worth thousands of crore were signed within weeks. The defense secretary acknowledged the gap. A lot of improvement is required in drones. Our civilian drone manufacturing ecosystem has grown, but for military grade drones, we need to put a lot of efforts. Remember, civilian drones were banned for 7 years. Now military is scrambling to catch up military grade drones. The pattern is simple. Block it, wait for crisis, and then rush to open up. 4 patterns: cryogenics, drones, AI policy, defense. Same story each time. But there is something deeper underneath. April 2025, a LinkedIn post goes viral. An IIT Delhi PhD student working on cutting edge AI earns 35,000 rupees a month. That's about $400. He cleared JEE, he cleared GATE, published papers, reviews journals, teaches undergraduates, and now he's struggling to pay rent. One commenter wrote, "I left research for corporate jobs. Passion was there, but rent and bills don't pay themselves." India's R&D spending is 0.64% of GDP. China is at 2.4, US is at 3.6, and Israel is at 5.7. Private sector contribution to R&D in India is 36%. In China and the US, over 75%. Talent exists. IIT graduates end up at OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic. They just don't stay. India produces one of the highest number of elite AI researchers in the world. But the top tier talent trained here at undergraduate level ends up working in US or Europe after graduate school. The pipeline flows out. India competes with its neighbor when it could compete globally. And one reason is simple. It doesn't pay its builder enough to stay. January 20th, 2025. Trump's inauguration. Same day, a Chinese startup called DeepSeek releases its R1 model. Training costs reportedly $5.6 million, a fraction of what OpenAI spent. Within days, it's the number one app in US. Nvidia loses $590 billion in market cap in a single day, the largest single day wipeout for any company in the history. 10 days later, India's Ministry of Electronics and IT solicits proposal for indigenous foundation models. 10 days. Jasprit Bindra put it bluntly, it gave us kick in the backside to stop talking and start doing something. Gautam Shroff of IIIT Delhi said, India could do a Mangalyaan in AI. The reference was deliberate. India's Mars mission cost $75 million. NASA's Maven mission cost $671 million. For the same destination. The India AI mission is about $1.2 billion over 5 years. Over 38,000 of GPU allocated, 4 times the original target of 10,000. Subsidized compute at 65 rupees per hour, less than $1. April 2025, Sarvam AI is selected to build India's sovereign large language model. Bhavesh Agrawal's venture, Krutrim, released Krutrim 2, a 12 billion parameter model. BharatGen, led by IIT Bombay, is attempting a trillion parameter model that is about $120 million. They have already released Param 1, a 2.9 billion parameter model. On Hindi Test Plus and Indian Culture Benchmark, it edges out Llama at the same size. 12 startups are now building foundation model under India AI mission. Ambition is real. And investment is real too. But so are the doubts. Not everyone thinks this is the right path. Chairman of Infosys said, let the big boys in the valley do it. We should focus on application, not foundation models. A researcher at Takshila Institution said, trying to dominate every layer of stack isn't realistic, even for China. Dominate one layer, application, service or talent, so you remain indispensable. And there are early warning signs. Krutrim, despite billion-dollar valuation, had a rocky 2025. Leadership exits, strategic pivots. The consumer app has just over 100,000 downloads, a small number when ChatGPT has over 110 million users in India. One report noted that Agrawal's need for speed has strained the organization. The same instincts that built Ola in record time may not translate to building foundational AI. The question isn't whether India can build models. It's whether it can build organizations that can sustain the work. February 2025, Sam Altman returns to India. This time his tone is different. India should be among the leader of AI revolution. It's really quite amazing to see what the country has done. He called India OpenAI's second largest market. From totally hopeless to among the leader. in 18 months. Now, was this a genuine change of heart or damage control? Altman is a businessman. India is the second largest user base. You don't insult the second largest market twice. First time was a mistake, second time would be strategy. So take the praise with a grain of salt. And here is the picture that is more complicated. What changed wasn't India's talent, that was always there. What changed was the pressure. DeepSeek proved that the constraints don't have to be limitations. And suddenly government moved. The question now isn't whether India can build AI, it's whether it will keep building after the pressure fades. Cryogenic engine took 23 years, drones took 7, defense took 54 years of blocking before private companies could participate. India has the engineers, it has the money now, it even has the models in development. What it hasn't proven is that it can sustain this without a crisis forcing its hand. And there is one more pattern worth noting. India's best AI researcher still leave. The pipeline still flows out. Until that changes, you can fund models, you can buy GPUs, but you can't buy back 2 decades of compounding talent loss. But things will improve gradually. It takes decades to build an ecosystem, and even more to get the desired output. The pattern might finally break this time.